Hi, my name is Philip Bergeron. I'm the Software Development Manager here at Quality4Action, and I'll be giving you a brief overview of our Quality4Action suite of tools. In a nutshell, the Quality4Action tools are designed to either prevent mistakes out on the line or to make sure that your operators are keeping up with different requirements, such as food safety requirements, sanitation, or other business requirements that you want to make sure are done. So I'll show you three typical setups of different Quality4Action pieces, but these can be customized depending on what your operation looks like and what your specific needs are. So the first example that we'll go through is what we call our quality checks. And this is when you want to make sure that operators are regularly acknowledging that either, for example, if a line has been cleaned or they've submitted the appropriate paperwork for a certain action. Whenever you need to prove that at this date and time a certain action was done and was acknowledged. So these can either be on demand, so an operator would fill this out as needed, or they can be scheduled, either based on a time basis or based on production throughput. So, for example, every 1,000 cases produced. So in an on-demand check, an operator would go in here, and depending on what workstations he's assigned to, he would have a certain set of forms that would appear to him. He can click on a certain form and then enter his initials and then start answering questions. All of these questions are customizable, and there can be different formats depending on what the need is. So they could go through the different questions, add in comments if needed, and then submit the form. Once that's submitted, it's time-stamped, it's assigned to the right user, and then it can be pulled in reporting. Another option is a schedule check. So this would be, for example, when you want to make sure that every hour they are cleaning the line out. They would have this dashboard, and then the system will alert them whenever a check is due. So this can integrate with a light tree, send out emails or text messages, depending on how you want your operators to get that information. So over here we have a check due for the filler, so we can click on it, and then it would be a similar concept. They would put in their initials or swipe their badge, and then they would start answering questions. So you can have typical yes, no. You can also have different date code validations, expiration date checking, and whatever other checks you may need to do for that particular form. Another common setup is what we call a package verification. So this is when you want to make sure that the materials out on the line match what is actually supposed to be on the line for this production order. So this prevents you from, for example, putting the wrong label on a product, which can be a fairly costly mistake. So what would happen here is an operator would periodically remove a product on the line and then scan that with a handheld barcode to make sure that it matches. The system will go out and compare that against your part list or your ERP, and then it'll tell the operator if that's a match or if it's a mismatch and something needs to happen. So automatically, based on the material, we can do a lookup and associate it to determine if it's supposed to be a material number or a lot number. So the operator has very little input that they have to do. Finally, the last example I'll go through is a more automated real-time setup. So depending on how sophisticated your machinery is, you may be able to either communicate directly with the machine, or we can install high-speed scanners to verify the UPCs. And then this would give you a check in real time to make sure that the product that's going past the machine actually matches what it's supposed to be. And then if the material does not match, we have the ability to turn on an interlock to stop the line to make sure that you're not putting out bad product. So over here we have an example of two labelers, excuse me, running a generic diet soda, and then they are picking up the number of scans and comparing it to the target UPC that we expect to see. Over on the right you have your machine status as well as the interlock status, where an operator can turn that off if he can acknowledge it. And then you also have a different status for your scanner communications in the event of some kind of wiring fault or something like that. So you can swap back and forth between your different lines if you have multiple lines. And then you can click through the different menus to get a little more detail about what's going on. So these were 3 different examples of setups possible within Quality4Action. In a future video, we'll go through a couple different setups, namely component verification as well as receiving. But if you have some requirement that we didn't get a chance to cover in this video, feel free to contact us on our website, www.decide4action.com.